Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's severe weather update. So unfortunately, we are looking at both a tornado outbreak and derecho across the upper Midwest today, and the Storm Prediction Center has issued a level 4 out of 5 moderate risk of severe weather for much of the state of Iowa, northern Missouri, northwestern Illinois, southwestern Wisconsin, and far southeastern Minnesota in the red shade region for today. We have a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk of severe weather for much of Missouri, northern central Illinois, northwest Indiana, western Michigan, much of Wisconsin, southeast Minnesota, northwestern Iowa, eastern Nebraska, and eastern Kansas in the orange shaded region today. A slight risk from central Texas through eastern Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, much of Missouri, southern Illinois, northwest Indiana, much of Michigan, northern Wisconsin, central Minnesota, eastern Nebraska, and Kansas in yellow, and a marginal risk extending from southwest Texas all the way up through the Canadian border in the Great Lakes in the dark green today. Also a marginal risk across northern New England, and taking a look at our probabilities of a tornado touching down within 25 miles of a location today. This is not looking good, as the Storm Prediction Center has issued a 15% chance of tornadoes touching down within 25 miles of a location across much of Iowa, far southeastern Minnesota, southwestern Wisconsin, northwestern Illinois, and far northern Missouri in the red shaded region today. This includes areas like Mason City, Waterloo, Des Moines, Davenport, Iowa, and Galesburg, Illinois, and Quincy, Missouri. Make sure you're preparing for a tornado outbreak with several tornadoes and several EF2 or stronger tornadoes if you live across the red shaded region today. Unfortunately, a violent EF4 or EF5 tornado is also possible across the red shaded region this afternoon. We have a 10% chance of a tornado touching down within 25 miles of a location across much of central southwest Wisconsin, southeast Minnesota, northwest Iowa, northern Missouri, northwestern north central Illinois in the yellow shaded region. Make sure you're on guard for numerous tornadoes if you live in the yellow shaded region, and a couple of EF2 or stronger tornadoes in the yellow shaded region, or in the yellow hat shaded region. We have a 5% tornado risk in the brown, extending from northeast Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas, most of Missouri, through central Illinois, much of Wisconsin, northwest or southeast Minnesota, northwest Iowa, far eastern Nebraska, and far eastern Kansas in the brown. Make sure you're on guard for a few scattered tornadoes if you live in the brown shade region today, and a 2% tornado risk all the way from northeast Oklahoma through portions of Michigan, central Minnesota, eastern Nebraska in the dark green. Make sure you're on guard for an isolated spin-up tornado if you live in the green shade region today. Make sure you have your tornado shelter plan in place if you live especially across the red and yellow shade regions today. Taking a look at our damaging wind threat, we have a 45% chance of damaging straight line winds of 58 miles per hour stronger within 25 miles of location across central eastern Iowa, southwest Wisconsin, northwestern Illinois, northeastern Missouri in the pink shaded region area for today. Make sure you're preparing for a derecho if you live in areas like Waterloo, Des Moines, Davenport, Iowa, Galesburg, Illinois, and Quincy, Missouri, as numerous damaging to destructive wind gusts are going to be likely this afternoon and evening. If you live in the red shade region, also prepare for a dangerous derecho in central northern Missouri, western Iowa, southeast Minnesota, the southern half of Wisconsin, western Michigan, northwestern Indiana, and especially if you live in the hatched area, which includes major cities like Chicago, Illinois, Madison, Wisconsin. Make sure you're preparing for numerous damaging to destructive wind gusts of 75 to 100 miles per hour with these storms this afternoon and evening. It's going to be a very dangerous situation for the upper Midwest as relentless severe weather continues this spring. And then we have a 5% damaging wind risk from Texas all the way through Michigan and northern Wisconsin in the yellow, 5% damaging wind risk in the brown from Texas through the Canadian border and northern New England. Make sure you're preparing for scattered and isolated damaging wind gusts if you live in the yellow and brown shaded regions respectively. And taking a look at our large hail threat, this is also very significant, as we have a 45% chance of quarter-size hail or larger within 25 miles of a location across central western Illinois, northwestern Missouri, in the pink shaded region, a 30% large hail risk in the brown across much of Missouri, far western Illinois, southwestern Wisconsin, much of the state of Iowa, far southeast Minnesota, eastern Nebraska, and eastern Kansas, a 15% hail risk extending all the way down through central North Texas, eastern Oklahoma in the yellow, all the way through Wisconsin and central Minnesota, 5% hail risk in the brown. If you live anywhere in this hatched area, including Dallas through Springfield, Topeka, Quincy, Galesburg, Davenport, Des Moines, Waterloo, Mason City, Rochester, Sioux City, and Lincoln, make sure you're parking your cars in the garage today, as you're going to be seeing hailstones of golf ball to tennis ball to baseball, softball size this afternoon and evening, especially across the pink and red shaded regions. So timing out these storms, we have an initial round of storms moving across Iowa and southeastern Minnesota, producing some scattered severe weather this morning. This will dissipate as we go into the noon hour, but then as we go into about 1 o'clock, big time nasty storms are going to form across western Iowa, producing potentially tornadoes, large destructive hail when they initiate. Going into 3 o'clock, very intense storms. Watch out, Minneapolis. You could be seeing some very intense storms around the 2 to 3 o'clock hour, producing destructive hail, destructive winds, and potentially even tornadoes up in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Then going down through central Iowa, could be seeing a line of very intense winds as a derecho begins to materialize by 3 o'clock this afternoon. Going into 4, 5 o'clock, our derecho is going to push across eastern Iowa, northwest Wisconsin, southeast Minnesota, and we could be seeing a tornado threat further south across Missouri, as multiple supercells could develop in the afternoon, producing tornadoes and large destructive hail. And then going into 7, 8 o'clock, very intense derecho pushing through Wisconsin, supercells across western Illinois, central southern Missouri, northwest Arkansas even. Make sure you're on guard for this tornado and large destructive hail threat, even down through Missouri and Arkansas this evening, destructive winds across Wisconsin. And then going into 9, 10, 11, derecho potentially pushing as far north as the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and severe storms continuing across southern Illinois, southeast Missouri, northern Arkansas. And then going through the overnight, gradually see our storms weaken. So if you live across especially central eastern Iowa, central northern Missouri, southeastern Minnesota, western Wisconsin, make sure you're preparing for both a tornado outbreak and derecho, as it is looking like we're going to be seeing some very significant severe weather this afternoon and evening across the upper Midwest. Thanks for watching. Please stay safe and have a wonderful day, my friends.